even though we could be producing these things at home. Let's start with agriculture. Let's start with agriculture. By raising the cost of agricultural production, we drive food growth and harvesting out of our country to other places. I'll start with the example of Suntech tomatoes, the little miracles of Manotick, a wonderful farm in my riding. They grow tomatoes in greenhouses, but Trudeau's carbon tax applies on the CO2 they release into the greenhouse, even though it's absorbed by the plant life. Apparently he missed that day in science class. The price signal that sends is that it's more affordable to buy the Mexican tomato in Manotick than the Manotick tomato in Manotick. By axing the tax, we'll lower the cost of production so that we can have more homegrown food. We'll remove the unnecessary and punitive regulations that punish our producers. There'll be less paperwork, less obstructions, and therefore more food production, and we will feed our own people and stand on our own feet. We will end the attack on our resource sector by repealing the unconstitutional No More Resources Law C-69. And we'll bring in a law. We're going to bring in a law that protects our environment, consults First Nations, but gets decisions made. It should no longer take 18 years to get a mine approved in this country. We will shorten those timelines, and we will bring mining of lithium, cobalt, graphite, more copper, and other critical minerals of the future back to this country and put paychecks back in the pockets of our people. We will back up our oil and gas sector. The Western economy, including indirectly and in some cases in parts of the province directly, Manitoba does rely on the strength of a strong oil and gas sector because, of course, Manitoba is thoroughly integrated with Saskatchewan and Alberta, and there is an oil sector in this province itself. The anti-pipelines, anti-oil and gas law C-69 takes money away from Manitobans and gives it to dirty dictators abroad. My common sense government will approve pipelines, oil sands mines, and other energy projects. We'll back up Newfoundland's plan to double its production to fully replace all of the overseas oil that we're bringing in from Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. And then there's natural gas. We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas right beneath our feet. Gas that could help Asia break its dependence on coal-fired electricity. Imagine that. Imagine actually using our energy resources as a solution to environmental problems, right? Here's the math. Right now, Canada is responsible for about 1.5% of global emissions. That's nothing compared to India and China, who are adding coal-fired plants week after week. In India, they plan to double their coal production between now and 2030. So think about this for a second. Our total emissions in Canada are 0.7 billion tons of CO2. If we were to sell our gas to India and allow them to displace the dirty coal-fired production with cleaner Canadian gas, we could reduce global emissions by 2.5 billion. That is 3 times the total emissions of all of Canada in a year. So why don't we cool that gas down to minus 161 degrees, put it on a ship to Asia to break Asian dependence on coal, and ship it off to Europe to break European dependence on Putin to turn dollars for dictators into paychecks for our people in this country. And then there's the Port of Churchill. We need to open up the Port of Churchill to all the minerals and commodities the world needs. This could make Manitoba into almost a maritime province. What an incredible way to take advantage of this strategic location. We should open it up to future exports of all energy, including oil. There's proposals by major energy companies in Alberta to encapsulate oil into puck-size droplets that can go by train and then be put on ships and sent off around the world during the shipping seasons. We could potentially even liquefy natural gas there using the cold weather as an engineering advantage. There are agricultural commodities that could make their way to the world, but we need to streamline and eliminate the bureaucracy that makes everything get possible. Common sense. Common sense is right, and we're going to make common sense common again, aren't we? Who's ready to make common sense common? Who's ready to axe the tax? By developing our resources, we can bring home powerful paychecks, and we need powerful paychecks now more than ever, with rising costs and greater need. With our economy less productive than our competitors, what we need is bigger and better paychecks for our people. And one of the ways we can get them is to allow our brilliant immigrants the opportunity to work in their professions. We have 20,000 immigrant doctors and 32,000 immigrant nurses blocked from working in our hospitals because they have no direct path to prove their qualifications. Meanwhile, Canadians sit in emergency rooms for 24 hours at a time while there are doctors and nurses that could help them. The Filipino ambassador told me that 85% of Filipino nurses are blocked from working in their field because they can't get a license. Meanwhile, they can go to the States, take a test, an international exam, and get to work in 2 weeks. We've had a red seal in the trades for 70 years. The federal government brought together the provinces in 1952 and said, a mechanic is a mechanic, an electrician is an electrician. Let's get one testing standard. Let's get people licensed and working. My common sense plan is to bring in a blue seal so that our immigrant doctors, nurses, and engineers can take a test, prove they're qualified, get to work. Let's bring jobs for our Filipino nurses. Right on. Powerful paychecks, and I'm also going to continue to stand up right across the country to urge all the provinces to end the vaccine mandates so we can track all the nurses. Bring back all our medical professionals. We want more powerful paychecks for our working people, the people who move stuff, fix stuff, and build stuff, the tradespeople. We need more boots, not just more suits in this economy. And that means giving tax fairness to tradespeople. Right now, a CEO can write off the cost of his private jet, but a working working electrician or mechanic can't write off the cost of his transportation. That's why common sense conservatives will pass the Tax Fairness for Traveling Trades Workers Act so that you can write off the full cost of your food, transportation, and accommodation to go around the country doing the work of building the nation. And we're going to make work pay. We have a war on work in Canada today. Work is punished. The great meme of a little guy sitting next to his dad in a park, and he says to his dad, "What is a tax form?" And his dad turns over to him and says, "It's the opposite of your school report card. The better you do, the more you get punished." That's income tax, right? We punish hard work. And a single mom earning $60,000 a year with 3 kids who earns an extra dollar loses 80 cents to clawbacks of her child benefit, income tax, payroll tax, and other taxes needed for her to do her job. So that means if she earns $25 an hour, works an extra hour, she loses 20 of those dollars, and she's effectively making a $5 an hour wage. No one should be forced to work for $5. $5 an hour is well below minimum wage, and that's why common sense conservatives will cut income taxes to make work pay. Make work pay. choice. At the same time, we're going to stand on the side of people who build the homes by getting the government bureaucracy out of the way so that we can get the permits for those projects to go ahead. After 8 years of Trudeau and the NDP, housing costs have doubled. This is because we have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on, and we spend the largest share of our GDP on residential construction. So let's get this straight. How is it that we spend twice as much as the OECD average on residential construction? We have by far the most land per capita and in absolute terms of any of those countries, and we have the fewest homes per capita. Why? Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy stands in the way. In Vancouver, the cost of a building permit, all in, is $1.3 million per home. Per home. In Toronto, it's $350,000. In the GTA, they've raised development charges by 900%. In Montreal, the city's blocked 25,000 homes. And in Winnipeg, the city has blocked 2,000, maybe 7,000 citywide, but 2,000 homes right next to a transit station that was built for those homes because apparently the councillor said his constituents didn't want to have neighbors. They lost out in court. But what's the point of building the transit station if you're not going to build homes right next to it? We cannot shut an entire generation of young people out of the dream of home ownership because NIMBYs and gatekeepers have blocked the building. My common sense plan will require municipalities to permit 15% more home completions per year as a condition of getting federal infrastructure money. If cities beat that target, they will get a building bonus. If they miss the target, they'll pay a fine. It will be strictly proportional to the amount by which they meet or miss the target. Realtors are paid for the number of homes they sell, builders for the number they build. I think municipalities should be paid federal dollars for the number of homes they permit. Let's pay for results. We're going to require that every federally funded transit station be surrounded by appropriately large apartment complexes. The reason why Hong Kong has the only profitable transit station system in the world, it doesn't get any government money, it's a publicly traded company that runs the entire system, is because they build on top of the stations. They literally sell the air rights over the stations so that they can make money from the developers to pay for the transit. And then people can get on the elevator in their apartment and go right down to the bottom, jump on the train, leave late, arrive early, because it's right there. So here's how it's going to work when I'm Prime Minister. If I fund transit, I'm going to put the money in a trust fund. And the city will not get the money until there are permitted, completed, and occupied apartments all around every station. That's how we're going to get the gatekeepers out of the way and build. We're going to sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, build, build. And you know, it warms my heart to think of the beautiful family rolling up in their U-Haul to move into their brand new home in the former headquarters of the CDC. That always gets the biggest applause. Who wants one of those condos in the CDC headquarters? Anybody? This guy over here was the first to put up his hand, so we'll give him a t-shirt. There you go, you win a t-shirt. Fantastic. I wasn't lucky, okay, fine. You get an apple. There you go. You know, they say an apple a day keeps the woke journalists away. I accidentally hit a lady in the head when I was throwing the apple yesterday. So I promise you got to be careful. You got to be careful when you come to these things. Oh, he's got a Rough Rider's hat on there. Oh, he's got a Rough Rider's hat. He's a brave guy here. He protected himself a little bit. I come from Calgary, which of course is the hometown of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. ever grow up, if you ever go to a game at the McMahon Stadium, there's more green than red. That's the truth. God bless our Saskatchewan neighbors. Great people in Saskatchewan, eh? Great people. Contrary to popular mythology in central Canada, you can't actually see Saskatoon from Winnipeg, but the two provinces are very good friends. And they share the same common sense values of building the tax, building the homes, fixing the budget, and stopping the crime, which brings me to my next issue, which is fixing the budget. The federal budget is around the corner, and they're running monstrous deficits. Justin Trudeau has printed $600 billion of cash in the last 3 years alone. This is a 32% increase in the money supply during